All right. Give Kenny a few before we get started.
Goodness.
He'll get him in his mouth. It'd be like a cow over there chewing on his cubs.
Yeah.
This thing pops up. Excuse the listen to pledge, but that's all right. I need to kind of give you all a heads up. We have. She's not here, is she? I thought you said she was coming. But we'll get her on the next one. All right. Ready? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Summers County Board of Education regular board meeting, February 10th, 2026, 6 p.m. Call this meeting to order. Let the minutes reflect that 4 board members are present. Mrs. Farley is unable to be here tonight. Item 2, I would like to ask Mrs. Harvey if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 3, approval of agenda or adjustments.
Make a motion that we pull R.T. Rogers and Safe and Sound from the bills to be paid separately.
A second.
We have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Harvey to pull R.T. Rogers from and Safe and Sound from the bills and handle separately. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by 4-0 vote, R.T. Rogers and Safe and Sound will be pulled from the bills and handled separately.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda with the attendance adjustment.
Second. We have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we approve the agenda with the aforementioned adjustments. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by 4-0 vote, the agenda has been approved with the aforementioned adjustments. Item 4, student discipline. I'll make a motion according to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 3, student discipline, that we go into executive session.
Second.
So motion on the floor by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride, according to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 3, student discipline, that we go into executive session.
6:02.
The time is 6:02. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by 4-0 vote, we will go into executive session and the time is 6:02. All right, executive session ended at 6:11 PM. The superintendent's recommendation is approved in executive session by a 4-0 vote. This was done in executive session due to it being a student discipline issue based on legal guidance we have been provided previously. So we'll move to item 5, employee discipline. I'll make a motion according to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 2, personnel, that we go into executive session. Motion by myself, seconded by Mrs. Harvey. According to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 2, personnel, that we go into executive session. The time is 6:14 PM. Oh. So I have a motion by myself, seconded by Mrs. Harvey. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote. We will now go into executive session at 6:14 PM. Thank you. All right, executive session ended at 6:19 PM. So we'll call this regular meeting back to order. Dr. Knott, your recommendation for item 5, employee discipline?
My recommendation is to approve the paid leave for this employee, which began on January 19th to end today, February 9th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for paid leave for the employee in question from January 19th through February 9th.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride, to accept the superintendent's recommendation for paid leave for the employee in question from January 19th through February 9th. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by 4-0 vote, the superintendent's recommendation has been approved. Item 6, presentations. Ms. Rivera is not here this evening, so we'll move forward with Ms. Newsom, Ms. Brown, and Ms. Hawkins for the benchmark assessments.
I guess I'm going first. Okay, so I do have a printout for you now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, first off, we're celebrating that we have 113 kids at Jumping Branch.
Yay.
Which is awesome, because last year we were at 89.
Yeah.
So we are pretty excited about that, and we have one more coming the end of February.
Good.
So from North Carolina, so we are very excited. All right, and we're also excited because our chronic absence rate as of today is 7.08.
Good job.
So we have been in the 8s for a couple of weeks, and then today Ms. Bowen checked it, and we're at 7.08. So we've been working hard with attendance, and it's working. Our behavior slips have been reduced from 33 last year to 20 this year so far. So we are still using PBIS, which we got notification that we are in the running to be a spotlight school, and they're coming March 31st to do interviews and walk through, and then we will find out if we made as a spotlight school, which means that other schools can come and watch how we do PBIS, and we can go and present to other schools at conferences and stuff. So
Good.
we'll see how that goes. Okay, so our academic data, the K through 2nd, our kindergarten ELA, our students grew an average of 27.7%. In first grade ELA, our students grew an average of 62%. In second grade ELA, our students grew an average of 30%. And then in our math, kindergarten math, our students grew an average of 44.8%. In first grade, the students grew an average of 25%. And in second grade, we grew an average of 16%. So we did grow. We still got some work to do, but we did grow. Our third through, I put fifth, but I forget to put sixth, third through sixth grade data. Our third grade Ames Web, our students grew an average of 24% in ELA, and they grew an average of 9% in math. And then we just took our second KMN benchmark. And at the beginning of the year, we only had 17% who were in the green, which means they achieved mastery. On the second benchmark, we had 26% in the green and 11% in the blue. Good. Which means we grew 20%. And the KMN benchmark is what they have to know for the entire year. So we're just at the middle of the year, so that was pretty good progress. For the math KMN, there were only 6% who were green on the first benchmark. And on the second benchmark, we had 32% who were in the green. So we had an average growth of 26%. Fourth grade, the ELA, we had 20% who were on the green on the first benchmark. On the second benchmark, we had 33% in the green and 7% in the blue, which meant we had an average growth of 20%. Fourth grade math, we had only 7% in the green on the first benchmark. And on the second benchmark, we had 20% in the green and 7% in the blue, which means we also had an average of 20%. Fifth grade, on ELA, we had 30% in the green and 30% in the blue on the first one. And then on the second one, there was 30% in the green and 40% in the blue, which meant we grew 10%. We were already at 60 and we grew to 70, which is really, really good. And then on the fifth grade math KMN, we had 10% in the blue on the first benchmark. And then on the second benchmark, we had 40% in the blue. For some reason, we didn't have anybody in the green. We had red, yellow, and blue. But we did grow by 30%. And then on the science Cambium, which last year science we struggled with, and Ms. Mott, she was determined this year that we were not going to be low on science. So on the science Cambium, there were 40% who were in the green and 10% in the blue on the first benchmark. And on the second benchmark, we had 20% in the green and 30% in the blue. I think I did that wrong. I think it was 30% in the green and 40, anyway, because we grew like 10%. I think I wrote that wrong. And then on the sixth grade ELA Cambium, we had 33% in the green and 11% in the blue on the first benchmark. And on the second benchmark, there were 44% in the green and 11% in the blue, which meant there was an average growth of 11%. And then on the sixth grade math Cambium, there was 0% in the green on the first benchmark. And on the second, we had 33% in the green and 11% in the blue, which means they had an average growth of 44%. So every class grew. We were really proud. And we're just going to continue to keep doing what we're doing with MTSS. And we have the intervention tutoring after school. And I think it's working.
And this benchmark test is assessing what what level they should be at the end of this
Yeah,
school year?
it's
Okay.
modeled after the GSA.
Okay,
So it's just like the GSA. So we do a benchmark in the fall when the first couple of weeks of school, we do the first one, and then we do a winter one, and we hope to see growth. But they should have taught those standards. And what we do at Jumping Branch is we take the list of standards and it'll tell you on the benchmark which ones like 50% have gotten right.
Mhm.
And so anything under 50% we highlight, and that's the standards that we really focus on for the second semester. So that we can, because some of them we haven't touched on yet. Some of those standards we haven't even taught yet.
right.
So then we hope to see this grow any further, by
Once
the
you,
GSA.
once you
Yeah.
teach those. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you all.
much. Good evening.
So with your all, I guess you guys have these colored graphs. And so these numbers represent targets numbers overall. And so I do have grade level numbers if you guys would like to see those that I can give you. But overall, so we were trying to see grade level trends and what is happening and what's working and what's not working, how we can better service all the way around. One of the things that we have been able to do this year that Dr. Knott has been very supportive of and the directors were very helpful to us is we were actually able to unsplit our 2-3 split. And so that we just actually had some students who left, but then we were left with this dilemma of we can fit them all in one room, but now what do we do? And so Mr. Ramsey is the teacher who got all of these kids, and he just started over essentially. Like he renumbered everybody. He welcomed them in as if they're one big class. It wasn't, this is my class and you guys are the other class just coming in. So he has had a really great success rate. And despite a really large number of students with IEPs in that grade level, they had 60% students reach benchmark in ELA. And so we were really excited for that little highlight. But if you look at these charts, so the first one, well, maybe the first one of them is the AIMSweb and one of them is Cambium. I'm not sure which one you have on top. But if you look at AIMSweb, that's the assessment that we do K-3. And this assessment really looks at where students are in current time. So whereas the GSA and Cambium looks at what they should know by the end of the year, this one is more of a picture of, are you on level in this current moment? And so it's kind of a moving target as you go throughout the year. And so we are looking at who's proficient. So in K-3, we have 63% of students proficient in ELA and 58% proficient in math. But then if you look down these arrows go down and point to what happens to those kids who are not proficient, what tier are they in? Because for a long time, we've seen a lot of those kids who are in tier 3, who are the most intensive kids who need the most help. And so, but the goal is to move them up the tiers so that we can get everybody to tier 1. So we're all meeting benchmark. And so our breakdowns are getting closer to 50-50. So we have a good, healthy, what we call tier 2. So we have a good, healthy group of kids that we feel like really are progressing. And not that the other kids aren't, we just still have kids in tier 3, but they're getting really great intensive intervention in really great ratios and numbers. And so if you go one tier down, one of the things that we've been flagged for is performance with students with disabilities at our school. And last year, we had 0 students who met the benchmark. So students with IEPs, none of them were benchmarking. And so this year, on Ames Web, we have 28% of our students who have IEPs are proficient in ELA, and then it's actually 25%. We had a last minute assessment come in, so 25% in math for Ames Web. And then if you go to the other one, so Cambium, 3rd grade actually gets both assessments just based on House Bill 3035. They also have to do Ames Web, but then we do Cambium because that's what they do at the end of the year. And so you'll see 3rd grade in both settings. But so when you look at Cambium, we are looking at end of the year things that they should be able to know. And so we are at 32% proficient in ELA and 25% proficient in math. One of the things I highlight for math is that we went from 1 student who was able to meet that benchmark to 18 students who hit benchmark at middle of the year. And so with the progress that we've made thus far, we compared it to last year, we have already exceeded where we were by the end of the year last year. And so we are praying and hoping, and trying to, make everything move and work that we're going to continue, and that we're going to see even more growth by the end of the year. And so same thing with this one, that 3rd little rung right there is our students with disabilities specifically. We already have kids who've met their benchmark on the Cambium assessment for the end of the year, students with IEPs. So 15% in ELA and 50% in math. And they're not the same kids, actually, which is nice. But to really kind of hone in and focus on that subgroup, just because it really is something that we just need to do better at. And so we've just been trying to look across the board at what we're doing and how we're doing it. And it's been helpful. So would you guys like a copy of the individual grade level movement? Okay.
Yeah, if you have
And
that.
there are some numbers on here that it's like they're just really my note-taking things. And so, but the percentages are all there in the levels of grade.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Do you guys have any questions or?
Just a comment, it seems like everybody's climbing, asking for both schools. With all these snow days, it's got to be throwing pink in what you got going on. And so I just appreciate the special effort that you're having to figure out how to cram it even more. So
Yeah.
good job to all you guys.
Yeah. And our chronic attendance rate actually is down 2.4% from last year at this point of the year. And so we're currently at 23%. And then one of our goals is also to reduce our level of number 3 and level 4 infractions. And so for write-ups and this kind of thing. And so far this year we're at 18, and last year we ended with 34. So we're on track to hit both of those goals that we have set for both of those measures as well.
What did you say your absenteeism, chronic absenteeism?
23%.
23, okay.
Yeah. Well, actually 23% as of just prior to the snow days. Some of the snow days actually help our percentage.
Right.
But yeah. So especially like the remote days actually, actually really do help our attendance rate because our kids turn in their packets. And so, yeah, so it might be slightly less, but it's close.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will start by saying, we approach our data consistently as a secondary school, but you will see in this presentation, we really look at 6 through 8 and 9 through 12, just because the difference in the end of the year assessments, whether they take them or they do not, because it's sometimes difficult to look at the high school version of the PSAT and SAT because they go beyond not just aligning with the standards, whereas the Cambium or the summative assessments in May aligns with our state standards specifically. So as we look into data, our PBIS team looks at our discipline rates, and at the change of the semester, we were under 500 disciplinary issues for the year, which I know that sounds like a lot compared to our other schools. However, we are set to, if we maintain pace, come in under 1,000, which is a significant decline from years prior. I believe 2 to 3 years ago, we had over 2,000 per year. So The general areas that we see those, unfortunately, in excessive number this year of both nicotine and THC vapes, but also general disrespect, misconduct, the varying levels of disruption of the classroom. A lot of level 1, level 2s, really haven't had a whole lot of level 3 type disruption in the classrooms. When we look at our chronic absence rate, we are right on track, obviously, with the county. We're at about 25% chronic. If kids see that we have a delay, a lot of our kids don't come. If we have tried to do some things such as clubs to have kids participate when they don't necessarily get activities once they leave school, that was fairly successful the first 3 months of school, but as we've gone on in the year, when we have clubs, kids just want to sign out. So looking at PBIS to kind of combat that is one of the things that we're trying. We did just do a middle school and a high school assembly to give out our incentive cards, which are our semester level incentives for attendance, performance, and behavior. And we had a lot of kids who got that middle reward. A lot fewer that got the orange card this year, because when we rolled it out last year, those orange, black, and gray cards were only based on the last 2 months of school as a pilot. So we did give that recognition, and we are trying to do monthly incentives. We will focus 1 month on attendance, 1 month on performance, and 1 month on behavior, so that we have that consistency throughout the year. When we look at our academic data, some trends that we kind of see when we start our school year, we typically see a decline in the number of our students that perform at exceeds or meets mastery. So we have a steep learning decline over the summer, or learning loss. When you look at our data, it frequently shows that by the second or the middle of the year benchmark, we've regained some of that, but not necessarily in every single class. If you all had heard today, we had some students present on Year Up, and our 9th grade class has not had a certified teacher all year. We do currently have a certified substitute, so we have that consistency. However, when we looked at some of the growth in 9th grade, and we'll look at that in a moment, there was a little bit of growth in 9th grade, even though we didn't have a certified teacher. And I think that's because our 9th graders have been participating in high dosage tutoring through Year Up. So they get an hour of ELA and an hour of math each week with a tutor. And that tutor then provides feedback to the advisory teacher about participation and an accountability score. Did the kids seem to get the lesson that was addressed? Okay. So when we go to the second orange slide, the middle school multi-tiered system of supports. So really trying to get kids where they are and grow them. Our middle school uses iExcel, and they use 4 30-minute sessions per week in advisory. All of the skills are set by the English and math teachers, and they have to be at grade level. The problem with that is iExcel doesn't necessarily have teaching lessons. Instead, kids can click through until they finally get it right. So they get the time and they eventually successfully complete that skill. So while we are providing that as an opportunity, not all students are using it effectively. Intervention is a class that our students have who have been identified as a bubble student, close to partial mastery to mastery. And we give them at least 9 weeks, if not a semester, of targeted instruction on specific standards. Something that we implemented the last 9 weeks, so second 9 weeks, was that teachers had to identify the specific skills and standards that they taught, and they had to go in and generate a test with Cambium, which is the testing platform for the middle school, so that they could do both a pre-test and a post-test. A lot of our kids showed growth over a week or two when they were doing the standards, but when tested 2 or 3 weeks beyond that, their growth declined again. And we also are offering a skills class. So at 7th period every day, we are having a rotation this semester. We've changed it up a little bit because a lot of our students who do want to do well have shared with us they feel like they're being punished between IXL, intervention, and skills. So what we are doing this semester is our middle school teachers, our English teachers are doing a month intensive rotation for English, math for math. The other teachers, if we have both science and social studies, they're doing an exploratory CTE about future careers or different types of things like that. And then they will rotate. So every student will get it, but hopefully they feel like they have other opportunities for learning, not just punishment. And those are the words of the students. So when we look at our data on the second page, I have placed the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade data on the same, just so that it's easier to compare at one time. And so what I was talking about is that learning decline over the summer. If you notice our 6th grade ELA, when they were in 5th grade, they had a 10% math, exceed standards and a 23% meet standards. So 33%. When we give them that initial benchmark in 6th grade, we got a 5 and a 9%. So that's not a whole lot of time, obviously, for any reteaching to be done, but we're seeing that learning loss. Same trend if you look at both 7th and really 8th grade, the meet standards stayed the same. However, we declined from a 12% to a 2% in the exceeds. You'll see that our 6th and our 8th grade have done quite a bit of work. And if you look at individual standards in the testing platform, you will see that 8th grade grew strategically in the writing process, but 7th grade has had very little to no growth this year. I am happy to say that we have a new 7th grade certified math teacher, a new 7th grade certified English teacher, and a new certified science teacher for 8th grade. So we are hoping, and I've always been taught that hope is not a strategy unless we're talking about high expectations, opportunities, perseverance, and engagement. So that's what we're going for. But again, that trend is similar. We start regaining at the middle of the year. Our concern and something we don't want kids to do is what we see is by the end of the year, they get tired and they just don't try. So again, we are utilizing those incentives, trying to make sure that we're measuring and being effective at what we teach. Teachers, on one of our remote or non-traditional snow days, we all sat down English and math and science and went through our data. They went student by student, and those teachers have identified the new intervention groups that will start next week. They would have started sooner, but we haven't had school. If you go ahead and go to the math page, again, very similar trends. 5th grade, their rates were quite a bit higher. You look at 6th and 7th grade, we went from 8% and 5% exceed standards to 0. And so again, by the middle of the year, that green, we're starting to move some kids away from the does not meet standards. We're just not getting them there fast enough. It's like taking almost a whole year to rebuild some of the skills that they've shown a deficit in between the first benchmark.
So the 7th grade data, we were at the, I think it was the fall, SBA training. It might have been spring of last year. But I mean, that 7th grade data is statewide issue.
It is. And, you know, when I look at the individual standards, there for the middle of the year benchmark, we're seeing some of our 6th and our 8th graders who are on target with the state standards.
Yeah.
We still have a few standards we need to work on, and those teachers who have identified the intervention kids, they are also identifying specific standards for the most impact to try to move them forward. The other thing we're really working on this year is vertical teaming, so that our 6th grade teachers communicate with our 7th and 7th with our 8th on what are those big skills that kids absolutely have to be able to do so that I can move them forward that next year. And we want to do that with our 5th grade teachers as well, simply because I think that that's a part of our missing connection when they come to the secondary school. We want to know what they can and what they have been held accountable for so we can keep moving forward instead of backpedaling. When you look at 7th grade math, you will notice in the second benchmark, we did not quite do as well as we did on our first benchmark for meet standards or even partially meet standards. Again, that was a non-certified teacher. I think we had 5 different teachers in there this year. We now have a certified, consistent person. So again, sometimes 7th grade is a very challenging group. You want to go to the next page? Based on that, we are looking at the science of reading standards that the State Department has outlined. The 5 key pillars are phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary fluency, and comprehension. So when we're looking at our standards in Cambium, but also the high school standards, we're looking at improving some specific areas like craft and structure, key ideas and information, and standards of English, convention of English. Okay. Now in Cambium, they also, the platform, it gives us specific standards that they identify as a high need area for us to work on. So those are what the teachers utilize between benchmark 1 and benchmark 2 for their intervention, as well as for some of their skills classes. And we did see growth in about 60% of those. Was it as much growth as we would like? Absolutely not. That's why we're changing things up a little bit second semester to try to address it from a different angle. The standards I have there, for example, for reading informational text, reading literary text, and writing in language are across the board key components for our kids being successful in the ELA sections of both the 6 through 8 Cambium, but also the 9 through 12, 9 through 11, PSAT, and SAT. Math standards of focus, we really look at ratios and proportions, expressions and equations, and number systems, functions, geometry, and statistics and probability. Again, when Cambium flags specific standards as key, our math teachers are asked to utilize that in intervention and skills, and they are then using Cambium practice questions to test students' understanding. Math was probably the area where we saw after 2 or 3 weeks, less understanding or being able to successfully do that. So we're talking about a shortened time period. Are they learning it? Are they not able to maintain it after 4 weeks to 6? Couple examples, and specifically with 8th grade, under the ELA, we had 2 major goals by February of this year to have a 25% increase in science of reading areas, which is craft, structure, key ideas and details. And we did not quite meet that, obviously, but if you look at the craft and structure examples for informational text, which is non-literary, it's our science, it's our social studies type readings. When you look at the state middle of the year in 8.10, we were at 50% middle of the year. We've increased that from 45 to 50 from beginning to middle. 8.11, we actually scored higher than the state average in the middle of the year benchmark, and the same as the state average in the middle of the benchmark for 8.12. We did have an increase of 11%. On that one. So again, our students are moving forward, and I think we have teachers that are dedicated to that process. We just have to keep trying to figure out what is going to work for our kids. Our goal is to have a 50% increase by May. We'll determine that. High school. 9th grade no longer has a general summative assessment, so we have transformed that platform to Progress Learning, which is a practice PSAT for 9th and 10th grade, and an SAT for 11th grade. Again, our specific state standards and based assessment to the PSAT standards, so it's not specifically aligned, although if you ask teachers of math, it has a lot more algebra and geometry, which is our required first 2 classes in high school. We do not see as much of a loss of learning over the summer. However, it's still there. It's still not as prevalent as in middle school. And again, 10th grade is PSAT and 11th is SAT. We're using the high dosage learning tool in ninth grade. They have about 12 to 15 hours of both English and math tutoring during advisory. Our 10, 11, and 12 are really not utilizing advisory successfully. However, our math teams have decided that we need to drive that forward. And starting next week, excuse me, all 10, 11, and 12th grade students will have Khan Academy math in advisory driven by the math teachers, graded by the math teachers, and provided back to the advisory teachers. So we're simply asking the advisory teachers to monitor them, have them do the work. They don't have to be math experts, but we do expect you to do your part in making sure they're working successfully 2 to 3 days a week on it. So when we look at I put 9th and 10th on there because they are both the PSAT, again, for the exceeds and the meets standards. We actually, on the first benchmark, had a huge increase on 9th grade meets standards, and that was before they started the high dosage tutoring. So really, we either did a better job of helping them retain that so that they could successfully complete benchmark 1 over the summer, or some of the change of platforms from the Cambium platform to the PSAT platform allowed them to see more success there. Problematically, however, if you look at the second benchmark, you will see that some of those numbers declined. Now, obviously, in exceed standards for 9th grade, we went up quite a bit. And those are our dedicated kids who put the time and effort in high dosage tutoring with the Gear Up program. Again, we think that it's there. Note that we had some technical issues. There were new firewalls put in, I guess, over Christmas, and some of our internet spots are not in compliance anymore, I think is what they said, and we're due to be upgraded. So we are in the process of resetting that PSAT test and allowing kids to retake the middle of the year exam. Simply because we think that we get better data and a truer reading, since we've only had about 9 days of school since they took it in January. So in 10th grade, the beginning of the year, we only had 1% of our students who exceeded standards. In ELA, we had 15% who exceeded standards by the second benchmark. We managed to go up to 38% on the meet standards. So again, as we grow those kids on the left 2 graphs, the right 2 sections are declining, which is what we would like to see. And ELA English, and you look at our juniors who will be taking the SAT in April. The first benchmark, we saw great growth in our exceed standards, saw a decline in our meets. And we have not quite obviously recovered our learning loss by the second semester or second benchmark. So again, retaking that, I hope to be able to update those scores in the next couple of weeks. Math is very much the same situation. Unfortunately, math is the second assessment that these kids take in the SAT or PSAT platform. And so a lot of times we'll see that they'll do pretty decent in English. By the second part, a lot of our kids lack the perseverance to continue with a very lengthy test. So that's something that we want them to practice as well. Probably one of the ones that, again, concerns us is looking at the math comparison and the loss in the second benchmark for the 10th grade. The 9th grade, they still, again, considerably went up, even though they haven't had a certified teacher. So we think a lot of that does speak to the high dosage tutoring. Whether they enjoy it per se or not, they have done it in a dedicated fashion, and we have seen some positive results. And again, our juniors in the math, again, we did have an increase on the last benchmark to 10% for meet standards. Still did not meet the 15% that we saw at the beginning of the year. So we will update that as well. One of the things I thought was interesting to look at with the PSAT and SAT performance, that our overall scores and the benchmark score that we have set kind of shows where our school is with where we need to be. But the thing that's concerning is the time frame. So the ninth graders for ELA took an average of 38 minutes for that section. 10th grade took 37 and 11th took 31. They were allotted 64 minutes. So it is very difficult to say our students can or cannot do it when they're only willing to put in half the time towards attempting it. So again, perseverance, I think, is a struggle. Math, again, very last test, they have 70 minutes for it, and they took 27, 35, and 32 respectively. So again, I think that we're testing all the kids, which is not something we used to do, at least for an SAT or a college entrance exam. And a lot of our kids don't see an accountability for it. So they log in, they finish, and there's not a lot we can do because we have certain protocols and processes in place that they have that time whether they choose to use it or not.
Is that the average time?
That's the average time, yes.
Did you get a breakdown of the student that the least amount of time versus the most amount of time?
Yeah, we had a couple of students who took 3 minutes.
Okay. Which will really pull that average
Really
down.
messed up. Some of them started taking the test and then they logged out.
Mhm.
And we can't force them to log back in and try. We can encourage, but again, very difficult. Next steps, targeted intervention. As I mentioned, we are going to be doing Khan Academy. 9th grade will continue with high dosage tutoring. Monitoring has been put in place for the math teachers to provide the grades based on the Khan success rate for both participation and accountability. Admin will receive a copy of those grades to make sure they're being entered on a weekly basis. Also, admin has a rotation designed so we can go into an advisory each day, Monday, Tuesday, and Friday when they're supposed to be doing that, again, to monitor, make sure that it is occurring. Teacher support, math teachers are driving the change. This is not something administration came up with. This came from our high school math teachers who want to do something different. And again, certified math teacher in 9th grade who is contributing to this movement forward. And again, we are dedicated to growing our students. We're going to use the sample questions from both Cambium and Progress Learning to do some monitoring between benchmark 2 and benchmark 3. Middle school intervention groups are being reassessed and they will start hopefully next week. MTSS has been more clearly defined for this semester and a monitoring plan. Intervention groups, but we do still have the concern that IXL and Progress Learning, while they're great tools, if our kids aren't using them to meet the growth needs, we have to look and see what that is. So that's why we're running the pilot with Khan this semester to see if we can see some of that growth. Any questions?
I think maybe to you and Ms. Newsom and, Ms. Brown, I can't say Ms. Airberg. How can we help?
I will honestly say is my first year in this particular position. Feel free to offer ideas. I'm certainly happy to consider how we can do things differently. At the same time, I do feel like we've had a tremendous success with a sense of belonging and students feeling like they can approach for help when they need it. So I think we are growing in some ways. It just doesn't always reflect in the specific data. But we're here to work. And again, if you see something or other schools see something that you think we could benefit from, you know, open conversations would help us the most.
You seem to emphasize the learning loss between 6th and 7th grade probably more than any other. So it just makes me really excited to see what difference this 6th grade pilot program at Jumping Branch is going to provide to
And I
us.
think it's learning loss over the summer in general. And I think we see that really with all of our grades. You know, I'm sure that with the pilot, There's a lot of positives, but, we do offer some, changing classes, getting that experience. It is a very different setting. But again, we have to figure out what works and serves kids the best.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, item 7, public comment. Thank you. Item 8, we have before us the minutes from the January 27th, 2026 board meeting. Superintendent's recommendation for approval.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from the January 27th regular meeting.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we approve the minutes from the January 27th, 2026 regular meeting. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining?
Aye.
Let the minutes reflect by a 3-0 vote, with Mr. Brogan abstaining, that the minutes from January 27th, 2026 board meeting have been approved.
Okay, get myself for taking a couple of bills because it's a conflict of interest.
All right, item 9, we have approval of bills. Mr. Brogan just stated, if, for those who may not have heard, he recused himself due to conflict of interest. So we will start with RT Rogers and Safe and Sound.
I'll make a motion to pay RT Rogers and Safe and Sound.
We have a motion by Mr. McBride, seconded by Mrs. Harvey, to approve payment for RT Rogers and Safe and Sound. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 3-0 vote that the bills for RT Rogers and Safe and Sound have been approved for payment, with Mr. Brogan recusing himself. Okay, we have before us the remainder of the bills.
Motion to pay the remainder of the bills.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we pay the remainder of the bills. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the remainder of the bills have been approved for payment. Item 10, approve transfers and supplements.
That's what we're doing.
Going first, are necessarily, transferring funds, transferring to different accounts to make sure we have areas of budget to cover everything. The bottom part, of course, of that were, funds that we received that were not in the original budget. Just to go over a few of those. Some of this is for transparency reasons, but I do want to go over a couple of these. A couple of the things, the SDSC reimbursement, in the past, that's always just been coded to the general fund, so it's just been gone, or it's just, in the past, this goes into the general fund. But after talking to the directors and Dr. Knott, we decided that we're gonna put it in a different fund, or a different project code, so that we can track that, so we can see, exactly where it's going, and if there's a purpose, or we want to spend it in a different manner, so that we can easily pull that out later on and track that, more efficiently, or, if we have a different purpose, or you all go to use that for, other reasons, we can see that. The same thing with the P-card rebate. Typically, in the past, it's always just gone into the general fund, and it's hard to track that, but we put it into a different project so that we can track that to see what we are doing. One thing that we are doing in the business office is trying to put a few more things on the P card so we can get a rebate back. Just trying to make a little bit more money on what we are spending. Just trying to be a little more fiscally responsible, trying to make a little bit more money on what we are spending. So if we're paying bills, just trying to get a little bit more money back on what we do have. Those other things, Pocket received a parent involvement grant. Megan had told us that 2 of her teachers had applied for parent involvement money. So that's just adding, those supplements are just adding money to what we had. Also that Medicaid, we had something come in for Medicaid. So these are just things that we had additional funds that were outside the scope of our original budget. So that's why we were adding that to it. So we're supplementing our original budget.
The student body activity, is that just, are those fundraisers the schools have done or?
So what that is we've had the expense where one of the schools has probably gone on a or a field trip, and the school is actually responsible for paying for that. So we have billed the school and they have, sent the money back.
Okay,
So in a way of tracking that, what we do is we put it in a different project code so that we can, the expense goes out, the money comes in, so it just zeroes out.
okay.
So that's a way of tracking.
Motion that we approve the children's supplement.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. Brogan to approve the transfers and supplements. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the transfers and supplements have been approved. Item 11, old business, discussion or possible action regarding the May 2026 levy. Dr. Knott, I will let you all talk a little bit about where we are in the process and if you want to, and the contact we've had with the attorney.
We have had the attorney, Bowles-Rice has looked at, our draft that we came up with as directors, and then they have, sent it back to us in the correct legal form. They checked some things and corrected a few things. He has also sent it to the state auditor. I'm sure I said the right thing. We have not heard back from them yet as of this afternoon.
Okay. And when you get that back from the state auditor, then we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
And then we can all review it.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about that?
We thought maybe we would have it by now, but we haven't got it.
Yeah.
What is the deadline to get it? Deadline?
So when we talked to the county, different question, memory, they want everything by February 24th. Because that's whenever it will go to, that's when she has and everything.
And that is on a Tuesday.
That is,
So we may, when we get down to that point in the agenda, we may want to adjust our date for that, our second meeting. We can talk about that later. Any other questions or comments? All right, item B, a discussion or possible action regarding the superintendent contract. I'll make a motion according to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 2. Personnel, that we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride, according to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 2, personnel, that we go into executive session. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote. We will go into executive session. The time is 7:08 PM. All right, executive session ended at 7:34 PM, so we'll call back to order this regular board meeting. We'll take no action at this time on action regarding the superintendent's contract. So item 12, new business, purchases over 25,000. We have none. Item B, discussion or possible action to approve out-of-state overnight trips. This is for Pearl Knott, fifth grade trip to Hershey Park, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, May 20th through the 22nd.
I'll make a motion, we approve the trip.
I'll second. A motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by myself, that we approve the trip for Pearl Knott. Any discussion? I will say I just came back from that area a few weeks ago, and if they get up there and there's a shortage on Reese cups and Hershey bars, I don't know why that is. But there were a few extra brought back when we came back from that trip. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by 4-0 vote that the fifth grade trip for Hershey Park, Gettysburg, PA, May 20th through the 22nd has been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve policies. We have quite a few listed here. There's a stack here if anyone would like to go through them.
We do not have any comments.
There were no comments. Thank you.
Do them all at once.
I think we can. I don't see any that need to be pulled out separately. Yep, let's just do them all at once unless someone has an objection. I'll make a motion that we approve the policies listed on the agenda.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the policies listed on the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by 4-0 vote that the policies listed on the agenda have been approved. Item D, discussion or possible action to approve retired employees' affidavits. Is that this one?
Yes, and the ones that are highlighted, are the ones that need approved right now. They'll be submitted to the state board for approval after this meeting.
And then will we, once they're sent to the state board, then it says for March meeting,
For their March meeting.
I'm sorry, okay. Gotcha.
What exactly is happening on this? What is this to benefit them on more on retirement?
Lauren, can you speak to this, retired employee affidavit?
This allows them that if they are in an area of critical need, that they can work past 140 days, because once they have worked with retiree, that they are, in 1 or 4, they can only work 140 days without it impacting their retirement.
I make a motion to approve the retired employee affidavit.
I'll second.
There's a motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. Brogan to approve the retired employee affidavits. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by 4-0 vote that the retired employees' affidavits have been approved. Discussion or possible action to change date of employment. We have Lindsay Anderson's effective date of employment will reflect job posting, remain in the position until full-time employee returns. 1/27/26 agenda stated it would end on 6/9/26.
Just so you understand, the job posting stated that until full-time employee returns instead of an end date.
Oh, okay. So we're changing that.
Change.
Okay.
End date.
So the end date will be 6/9/2026.
No.
Until the full-time employee
returns.
returns. Okay. which could be
Which
after
could
that
be
time.
after that.
Okay, I'm caught up now.
And motion that we approve the, date change of employment.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we approve the date change of employment. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the change date of employment has been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve work session dates. This is where we talked about trying to have work session quarterly. We need to look at our next date. So do you all have any dates that the central office has thought about that would work, or
We
anything we
actually
need to
thought
work
about
about?
March 10th,
March 10?
if at all possible.
Okay,
And we do think we probably need to start maybe around noon
okay.
because of some of the things we thought we need to work on,
It's,
if that's what.
Um, March 10th. So that's a Tuesday,
It's the day of.
day of the board meeting. Okay. And we could do that like we did before in conjunction with the board meeting, just recess in between. Okay.
Kenny can't be.
I think Kenny will have to dial in.
cause
I don't know.
I know they have phone service down there, Kenny.
we'll look into it.
March 10th, do you all know, or do you want to check your calendars and get back to us? You can do 3:10? That's you, Jay.
Yeah, so far as I
Okay.
know, unless something changes.
All right.
You typically don't, I mean, if you go, well, you won't go into executive session. If you can just video that, if it don't even go to the public, just something I can watch later, that'd be fine.
No, you're talking.
Yeah. All right. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we plan a work session for March 10th.
Second.
Let me restate my motion.
All
We'll
right.
plan a work session for March 10th, beginning at noon.
Okay.
All right, so motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride for a work session, March 10th, beginning at noon. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote. We will have a work session March 10th, beginning at noon. Discussion or possible action concerning proposed calendar changes and updates.
Well, I have a presentation that'll be very brief that I showed at the price hearing committee meeting. It kind of explains what I'm thinking here or where we are right now. Now, these are the tools that we have at our disposal when we do the calendar, the non-traditional instruction days, equivalent time days, and OS days. And non-traditional are we can have up to 5, when the buses can't run safely or efficiently, but faculty and staff can maybe get to work. And then we have equivalent time days, times banked. We've added a few minutes to every day, and we can cover up to 5 missed instructional days. And then there are OS days. There's 6 of those that can be used for makeup days. Generally, we don't use them until the other 2 sets of days are used. So as of right now, we've used all 5 equivalent time days. We've used all 5 non-traditional instruction days, and we've used 4 of the 6 OS days. So with nothing else changing, the Thursday, June 4th is the last day for students. Friday, June 5th would be the last day for most faculty and staff, depending on different, some people have more days in their. So what happens next? We're going to use the last 2 remaining OS days. But I'm also, since you all approved the calendar, I'm asking to consider converting the February 19th, which is a teacher pupil parent conference day, to convert it into a regular school day and have a 3-hour early dismissal for the faculty senate meetings. We're going to keep the February 20th PD day because we've got someone from Homeland Security planning to come in and do a reunification training for when there's an emergency. But we're also asking possibly to go ahead and convert April 3rd, which happens to be Good Friday. It was a professional learning day, but to convert that into a regular school day with the 3-hour early dismissal for faculty senate. And there's another one like that in May. Now what that does, and that's not on the slide, but what that does is that would give 3 days back to students in instruction, but also take it off at the end of the year. It doesn't give it back to teachers. Teachers would still have to work those 3 days at the end of the year.
Is this something you're gonna go ahead and put on the calendar, or is this just things you're going to do if you have to?
Well, we only have 2 OS days left.
Right.
So we can go ahead and give back 3 of those days if you all approve to do this.
This is the changes you're wanting to make to this calendar.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't have a
unless you
problem
have a
with that.
reason, not to
I
do
don't
them.
have a problem, no.
They're all right now days that don't have student instruction,
Mhm.
but this way we get at least half
3
day
of them,
instruction back into 3 of them.
Yep.
And it also knocks off 3 days at the end of the year for students, but it gives back 3 days of instruction.
Make a motion to, accept your proposed calendar changes / updates.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the proposed calendar changes with / updates. Any discussion?
Wanted to add that I think this is a smarter way to do it than
Mhm.
to add in days at the end of the calendar. I think, from public perception
Mhm.
and adding days at the end is,
We'll get more out of the
Frustrating,
students on
yes.
these 3 days.
Right.
yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that we have approved the proposed calendar changes updates. Item H, discussion or possible action to approve the WVU extension MOU. Do you know how much we gave last year?
I think it was 25.
Same amount.
The same amount.
Okay.
Lots of years.
Yeah, I do not have, an update on this one. I was not able to attend the annual board meeting. And I don't know that she had it because she wasn't sure that she was gonna have a forum. But, I mean, Summer County Extension is very well involved within the school system and supportive of what our students do.
I agree.
I'll make a motion that we approve the W extension MOU for $2,500 annual assistance.
I'll second. Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by myself to approve the WVU extension MOU for $2,500 assistance. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the WVU extension MOU for $2,500 has been approved. Item 13, personnel. We have resignation and retirements. We have that all we have? I know, I knew I saw some more earlier. We have changing effective date of employment to be determined.
And I will say, even though they all say no candidate, there are a couple that actually do have candidates. We just extended the date for the closing of them due to the inclement weather.
Okay, good.
There weren't a lot of candidates, but there were a couple that had candidates.
Motion to accept the superintendent's recommendations under personnel.
We have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Harvey to accept the superintendent's recommendation under personnel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the superintendent's recommendation for personnel has been approved. Item 14, superintendent's report.
I have two things. I just want to say that, February is Career and Technical Education Month in the state of West Virginia. So shout out to our career and technical education teachers. We're going to give certificates. Not that that, is a great thing, but we're going to give certificates to them. And it's also National Love the Bus Month. So we're also celebrating all of our transportation workers, bus drivers, mechanics, transportation directors, inventories, the transportation secretary, substitute bus drivers.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, they all do a good job. All right, item 15, discussion next agenda. The next board meeting we have scheduled for February 24th, Hinton Area Elementary. This was also going to be their LSIC meeting. We probably need to look at adjusting this date for the levy because it has to be in to Lynn by the 20, close of business on the 24th. Do you all
I
have?
think previously we had mentioned maybe moving it to that Monday,
Okay,
if that's.
if that works for you all. Is that
Enough
for you
time
all
to
as
get it?
well? 23rd? Works, okay. All right, so we will change that from the 24th to the 23rd. Still have it at Hinton. Do you want to check with Hinton area and make sure they can still do the LSIC?
Yeah.
Okay. If they can, if that doesn't work out for them on that day, we can still have the meeting there. Any topics for the next agenda?
Middle school track team.
Oh, yeah,
Middle school what?
school track team.
Track teams.
Raynell Medical
And-
Center MOU, is coming due and, Fair Skagit can provide an update on the next board meeting.
Okay. I know we were trying to get, was it the golf team?
Yeah.
We
never got that.
let me, let's see, let's put them down and I'm gonna reach out and see if we can get someone to come. I'll talk to Austin and see if he can come and bring some of his golfers. Any other items? Okay, as always, if you think of something between now and the next meeting, you reach out to Dr. Nod or myself and we'll get that added to the agenda. Item 16, Mr. McBride.
All right, I'll make a motion. We adjourn. The time is 7:53.
Have a motion by Mr. McBride, seconded by Mr. Brogan, that we adjourn this meeting at 7:53. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that this meeting is adjourned and the time is 7:53 PM.